If you just give us your name and address so that the folks at home can hear you as well.
My name is Karen Dean, and I live at 139 Malden Avenue.
Thanks, Karen.
The reason why I'm here tonight is I live 5 blocks from the Western Springs border, and I want to know why an alert was not sent out by the village this past Tuesday, April 6th, when 2 armed and dangerous fugitives with several outstanding arrest warrants were suspected in the area. Those suspects could have easily walked a few blocks over to the Grange border and knocked on any unsuspecting resident's door. Western Springs residents had notification and a full description of the 2 suspects. Anytime a neighboring community posts a CodeRED alert, the village of LaGrange should pass it along. People can decide for themselves what they want to do. I think the village of LaGrange should have alerted the community. Why wouldn't you err on the side of caution and pass along this information? I would like to know what the criteria is when an alert goes out, and I'd like to know what is the village's plan for the next time this happens. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Well, I guess the place to start would be to explain our process, what went into the decision-making with respect to this particular event. Yes, in fact, you're correct. Western Springs did issue an alert to their residents regarding an abandoned vehicle and a concern with respect to those who presumably abandoned that vehicle at 2:30 in the morning. The way we handled the thought process in LaGrange in terms of notifying our residents or whether or not that was an appropriate decision was really to have our chief of police do his and the department's professional analysis of the situation and to determine whether or not in our chiefs and departments' opinion there was an imminent threat or any heightened concern threat to our own residents. The chief's determination and our department's determination was that in fact that was not the case, based on many more factors than I'm sure that I'm even aware of, but a very thorough and thoughtful analysis of the situation was done. It's an assessment of a risk or a threat to the community. The school districts did handle the situation differently in Western Springs and LaGrange as well. There was a lockdown, I believe, of the schools in Western Springs. LaGrange schools eliminated outdoor activities in response to the situation. We chose not to use CodeRED in a desire and an attempt to not be alarmist and raise concerns where the professional opinion of our chief in the department was that there was no heightened risk or concern to our community. We don't want to dilute the significance, if you will, of using the CodeRED. In CodeRED, the reference that I'm using is to an automated reverse 911 system where every resident in the village gets a call at their home or cell phone or whatever number of telephone numbers actually that they have provided. We don't want to overuse a situation to possibly cause people not to pay attention. Considering the situation, and you sent an email, and a couple of the trustees also got inquiries as to how we handled the situation. What we will do possibly differently next time is to consider putting a web announcement, I guess, an announcement on our website suggesting that a neighboring community has issued an alert, possibly providing a copy of that alert, referencing the fact that our opinion with respect to the threat was not it was not assessed in the same manner, or there is obviously some different timing involved as well. But to suggest to our residents that they should, of course, report any suspicious behavior that they may observe. So, in a nutshell, that is the situation that occurred last week.
Well, I have 2 follow-ups to that. First of all, you were at a disadvantage if you were like me and did not have a child in the LaGrange schools, because several of my neighbors knew about it because they heard through LT or whatever. I have a child who's not in the schools here yet, so I didn't have that advantage of possibly learning through the schools. And if the schools felt it was important, why wouldn't the village find it important? And why when by 3 o'clock, I live a half block from Ogden, you could drive down Ogden and see multiple police vehicles from other communities with shotguns out of Bemis Woods, which is less than a mile from the LaGrange border, and helicopters. What does it take in the town to assess a dangerous condition? I just, to me, seeing shotguns less than a mile from my home, I would have expected a reevaluation of the situation, because by 3 p.m., I didn't need the village to tell me. By 3 p.m., it was on the Trib's hot email reports, web breaking news, and Channel 5 and Channel 7 were out in front of Bemis Woods. So, and it was on the early news. So I do feel like the ball was dropped. I do feel like I wish the village police would reconsider what they consider an alert and err more on the side of caution. But that's all I'm going to say.
I appreciate your comment.
All right,
thank you.
To the earlier comments that Ms. Dean offered, and thank you for coming out and extending them. We all up here believe in our police department, obviously. It's fun being chief sometimes, chief. I was a chief once, but that's another story, I'll tell you. I think probably everything up here that Liz said we all agree with, but I think in this case, Karen makes excellent points that in the future, if we could err on the side of notification in this situation, I think we would be better served. For the public, our police department does an excellent job. They have to make a series of judgment calls throughout the day, 24/7, Christmas. Although we expect perfection, sometimes we don't always hit it out of the park. So I think your comments are important, and Chief Howell's very good to work with in terms of inputting, so we do strive for perfection here. But I agree with your comments. It was a big enough deal. We probably need to tune up on our notification in this situation next time. So thank you.
I agree with Tom on this one, and Karen, thanks again for coming out. I also agree with that. I think erring on the side of more information is better. And I know these judgments are hard to make sometimes, but I do believe that in a case like that, the downside of not alerting folks and having the power of the people looking for suspects was outweighed by keeping it, under wraps, so to speak. So I think a good policy would be to pass along CodeRED situations from neighboring communities that border our community, where we can have that synergy of community working in concert with the police. I think people are smart enough to know and don't get, as adults, we got to process this kind of information. So I think it would be a good idea, and I agree with Tom on that.
On the CodeRED situation that Ms. Dean spoke about, I was the trustee, or one of the trustees that did comment to staff, and I appreciate Village Manager Flipshin's promptness in responding to me, and we had a nice conversation with regard to concerns that people in the village had on how the notice was given or not given. My concern deals with both kind of Bob and Liz saying, we will consider posting alerts and possibly doing it differently next time. It's my hope that it will be done differently next time. I think, that the judgment was made, and that's fine. And I just think that hopefully we learned that there's people in the community that want to hear this information, and we have the ability to provide it in some format, and we should do so. So if it's only possibly being considered, I'll move to push that a little bit further.